Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Trans and Non-Binary panel today. Today, we will be talking about the trans, the umbrella community, and I have my fabulous panelists with me today. Today, I have Jay Aaron, I also have Rain, I have Wyatt, and I also have Ethan with me today, all from the trans and non-binary community. So, myself, I am the vice chair of Halifax Pride and the head of the trans and non-binary committee. I identify as a trans Black woman, and my pronouns are she and her. So, I'm here as moderator today, so hopefully I won't have to talk as much, because usually I talk way too much, but I want to make sure that these people have their voices and they get their opinions out, because they're fantastic at what they do, and they're community leaders of today and also to tomorrow. So I'm going to move on to our first panelist, Jay Aaron.
Hi, my name is Jay. I am a trans man, and I go by he, him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Rain Dorfschmidt, and I use he or they pronouns. I identify as a gender fluid trans man.
Hi, I am Alex. I also go by Wyatt, but primarily Alex. I am a non-binary person.
Hello, I'm Ethan Addams. I identify as a trans man, and my pronouns are he, him.
Fantastic. So today we have a few questions that we have come together with, and we're just going to let the panelists answer them as much as they possibly want to. We're not going to force anybody. We're not going to go in any kind of way or anything like that. I'm not going to go up the row and down the row. Y'all are adults. Y'all know when you want to speak. So, so our first question that we're going to do is, what does the meaning of the trans, the umbrella community, mean to you? Who wants to go first?
I suppose I can.
Go ahead.
It means to me a sense of community, especially now that it is less deadly, I won't say not at all, to be out with your identity and be loud and proud about it. And it means more now than I would think it would mean when I was younger, before I really started to explore myself. And so there's this binding sense now. And for me, that means that there are places that I could be whatever instance and nuance of myself there is to be, and I'm accepted and I'm valid, aside from my own reassurance, but other people who understand that as well live that. That's our lives. So for me, it just feels like a sense of home, a sense of comfort and pride almost. And it comes off as a force now. It is activism. It is multidimensional, multifaceted, and non-compartmentalizable. So that's what that means to me.
Fantastic. Who wants to go next?
I think for me, the umbrella means that there's so many more than just like the binary. There's so much more identities and labels if people choose to identify with a label or not at all. There's like so many options that you can learn and keep, you know, educating yourself, that you don't have to solely be just one identity. You can be bi-gender, tri-gender, you can have no gender at all. You can, you know, there's so many options. And I love that with the sense of community, you can meet other folks and learn from them. Because like my gender has definitely changed through the years. Whereas I first started thinking that maybe I was non-binary, and then realizing that I do feel a sense of masculinity that I want to identify as, but I also appreciate the fluidity of my gender, that I like to present femme. So I think that the umbrella is kind of like a comfy way for folks to be like, any day I can kind of pick and be that and still accept yourself and validate yourself. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to kind of jump off of that, for me, when coming out and exploring my own gender, I always felt like I was never a part of the trans community, because I primarily had heard transgender, whereas for me, where I was not seeing myself really connect with either gender, I was like, oh, I'm not a part of this. Like, I'm on the outside, and as more I heard trans umbrella, I was just like, oh no, there is a space for me here, and there's a chance for me to kind of really look at my own gender and kind of go to other people and see who else, and see all the varied ways that people can express their own gender identity.
Sure.
I saw it as freedom, really. I grew up in a place, and I know we all talk about, you know, trying to break out of boxes. I grew up in a place emotionally where I felt very boxed in. So when I learned about trans identities, when I learned about the concept of the umbrella, it really gave me a sense of freedom that maybe I can move around in this space and see where I actually fit instead of having to go from one choice to another choice when I wasn't really sure. I had things to learn. I had things to, learn. Lots of things to learn before really wanting to choose one thing and knowing that even when I did, that could change again. Yeah. And then when I came out and I learned about trans identities before I learned about the umbrella, like the concept of the umbrella. But also what an umbrella means to me is protection, because umbrellas protect you from the rain, but this kind of umbrella, I feel like we can come together as a family, and that umbrella protects us from maybe people outside it who don't really understand us yet, because it's not really our role to be educators. It's great when we choose to educate people, but sometimes we just need to be with our family.
I think those are all great points. And I do echo what you said, Alex, is that I'm happy that we are now saying trans, it's not transgender, because gender is within there, but I like the whole trans. And every time that I speak now, I make sure that I put trans and not just transgender, unless I'm talking about myself, because I am what I is, right? So, so the next question is actually kind of a two-parter. So what are the common misconceptions of a person from the community? And also, how has society changed as you self-identified yourself?
I guess I'll go first again. That one I have a lot of mixed feelings about those questions, only because about what Alex was saying about trans and you feeling not in it or not trans enough or not valid enough. Trans just means not cis. Even if you like to look at the cis part, touch upon it, and then veer away from it for any spectrum in any day at any time, that's all that means. But other people have put so many connotations that really upset me. And they put so many different compartments because people try to rationalize people when we are actual beyond definition. That's why we can create our own. That's why we're born with reason, so that we can question what we thought we knew and evolve it. So for me, I really dedicate my life as somebody who is binary with a non-binary worldview, only because I assume that nature, people, and non-natural things included in the concept of nature to be not binary, not from math to nature to anything. Nothing falls really in that. So why do we have to? And so I'm very aware of safety, and I'm very aware of how people will put in compartments in order to navigate cis spaces and whatnot without being alienated or having anything worse happen to you, which I don't need to talk about because it's all positivity right now, but we all know. So for me, it's more like, how about we create a world where there is nothing that comes with the idea of trans other than being that? So no matter how trans looks for you or me, that's it. No matter how masculine or feminine or whatever that means is, that's it. Because even that's a spectrum. It's all different vibrations. So touching back on society, not that open. Society, some members of it, and it's getting there more and more. The more we have social media, the more we have different minds being loud and proud and out and speaking about this, will tell you, and I'm one of those people, that your transition is done the moment you go, I'm not cis. That's it. That's all you had to do. You figured out something so powerful about yourself that's it. So your body or the vessel in which you're carrying that trans identity could look this way or that way or not, because there's no way to look like a man. There's no way to look like a woman. It's not real. And there is no way to look non-binary. What do they have to do? Where is their memo of you need to have this surgery or take these hormones or do that? What if you didn't and you were still able to be safe, valid, housed, fed, worked, appreciated, loved, adored, hooked up with, and all those other things that people like to use their compartments in order to be further on. So for me, I'm someone who will exist as natural as I came for as long as I feel like it, because my binary identity is not based on that. It is based on the fact that I told you, the fact that I know myself now, the fact that I've thought about it, fought with others about it, and decided that my rule stands stronger than what society will tell me. I'm already black and goth and all a bunch of other stuff that people say that I'm not supposed to be. So my trans identity does not come with a rule book either. And I need for society to really, and even other trans people, I don't know how many groups I'm in for the sense of community that we were talking about before, where it's like, if I turn 30 degrees to the west, do I pass? What are you passing at? What are you failing at? You're already you. I don't think you realize that you can't go from cis to trans to cis. You can't go there. You can't, no matter what you do to yourself, your history tells you that you're trans. That should be okay. That should be enough. And that should be unidentifiable. None of that. And so you have people who are stressed out every day with their body dysmorphia and all that. And I have it too. Everybody does. I don't know a person who doesn't, but it doesn't have to come as a constant when you're trans. Being trans shouldn't have to come with, oh, now I have to fuss about my body more so than everybody else. When society will tell you that I have to. And I'm not going to. And I'm going to put it to where other people, younger people, the trans youth, don't do that either, so that more people can figure out their non-binary status. More people can figure out their trans status and bring me something new that I get to learn, because the way things are isn't the way they're going to stay. That's a constant. And that means more to me than what other people are willing to put on me and other people in order to just live. I should be able to just live because I'm here. And that's it.
Should be enough.
Should be enough.
Does anybody have anything to say after that?
I mean,
It's a hard one to follow.
I'm sorry. It's my life, so I'm quite opinionated about it.
said that.
That was
no.
extremely powerful
Damn.
and very well said.
Yeah.
I have a jump-off point from my own personal experience as a non-binary person is that there's a big conversation around non-binary people giving, I'm forgetting the word right now, basically being like very gender neutral in how they present and being very androgynous. That's the word. And being very androgynous and this kind of like societal pressure to appear very androgynous in public spaces. Whereas someone who, like me, who is an AMAB person, there are certain things about my AMAB identity that I can't cover up. So therefore, I'm just like, well, therefore I'm not adhering to a societal ideology about what it means to be non-binary.
Exactly.
So it's just like this external pressure, and I'm sure a lot of binary trans people feel it too, is that you have a certain amount of things you need to do in order to feel safe in public.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like that external pressure creates so much more internal pressure that you're just like, I need to do all of these things in order for me to feel like I am valid in my own existence, when in reality, each person's trans existence is individual to their own path. No one has a direct line about what they need to do, and
Exactly.
that's something that I think people really need to realize, and especially like cis allies really need to realize that if someone comes out as trans, they say, okay, when are you going to do X, Y, and Z then?
Exactly.
Instead of just being like, okay, I'm taking this information and I'm going to allow you to take whatever path you want to take and support you through that path, instead of kind of create this expectation of, okay, you told me this thing, now this is what I think you need to do about it in order to navigate cis spaces.
Yep.
So
The trans checklist.
yeah,
You're getting the
exactly.
surgery, the hormones, the this, the that. What about no?
Right, and like I was gonna say, like with misconceptions, I feel like a lot of cis folk claim the trans community to be snowflakes, because it's like, oh, who are your pronouns, or this or that, or if I don't see, you don't identify how I seem that you should identify, and da 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 da, and it's like, no, 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 no. We now, if we validate ourselves, and within that umbrella, we're like, no, I know how I want to identify. I know I've been through this long enough, and I will continue to be going through this, that I know how I should be validated, and I know that I'm living my truth, that I will not stand up for your BS. So that's not me being a snowflake, sweetheart. If anything, that's you, because you are uncomfortable with not being able to address me as who I am. That's not me being a snowflake. That's just me being irritated.
Truly.
You standing
And
up.
that's me standing up for myself. And I know my people, we stand up for each other.
We do.
And that's that on that period.
Truly.
So, you know, I think that's a misconception that they think that we're the ones that are easily offended. No, no. we know what's right, and we're not going to stand up for that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Because we've already done that to ourselves.
exactly.
Just like you were
I'm
all
like
saying.
still battling every single day. I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, well, if I identify as a trans man, well, I got to do this. I got to have top surgery. I got to go on hormones.
Right.
I got to cut my hair short. I can't wear no nails. I can't do my makeup. I can't have my edges laid. No.
And then you were like, what?
Here I am. I said no. I'm transitioning because I'm saying I'm transitioning because this is how I identify. Like you said, you know, kudos to you have been definitely a person that I've looked up to with my trans identity being you're like, no, you don't have to do all that.
I'm going to do what I want.
I'm going to do what I want, you know.
I like to stay pretty.
I like to be pretty, you know. I like to be a pretty boy.
Pretty man.
That's right. So.
Because your words are enough. You're saying that's who you are. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Period.
Yes, exactly.
You said it first.
Yes. You know, it doesn't have to be an argument. It's a matter of like.
Not up for debate.
It's not like I'm going to come up to somebody who's cis and be like, well, you look like this, so I'm going to tell you that. Like, no, we're not going to do that because that's not what we are. It's not an argument to be had.
Right.
It's not a matter, you don't need to be ignorant on this.
Truly.
And I don't need to explain myself all the time to you.
Right.
If you got a laptop in your hand, there is an app called Google. And I'm telling you,
Hit it.
she works well. You got, hey, Alexa, can you, like, simple. Instead of us putting that labor out constantly, you know, it's draining. And it's like, oh, you're just so easily offended.
Burnout is definitely real.
And speaking to that,
We're
at least
tired.
Yeah, and at least there has been progress where we can tell people to Google.
Yes.
Because, you know,
And that-
I learned what the word transgender was when I was 26 years old, and I saw YouTube videos of people actually finally speaking about themselves instead of other people talking about trans people. I saw trans men. It blew my mind. I had coughed into a cracked rib from a bad cold, and so I was off work just watching, you know, YouTube. I could have been watching cartoons, but I found those videos because those people made those videos, and it set the light bulb off for me. So it's wonderful that we do have that progress, that, you know, we can tell people that there is still a whole long way to go, trust and believe, but at least we do have a little bit more positive representation that we can see ourselves reflected.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the problem is that we're deep rooted in this social experiment, and that's basically what people see us as, is, you know, something that just came out, you know, the millennials brought up. And
Exactly.
also another thing is that, you know, it's deep rooted in those checklists that you were talking about, how when I started mine, you know, because I'm trans ma, so I'm like, you know, I'm older than all y'all. But
Yeah, there wasn't YouTube
so there
when
was
we
like a checklist, you know, if you want to have your hormones, you have to look presenting like this. If you want your surgery, you have to look like this. That is not, who are you to tell me how my transition is? And also, I really hate when people are like, oh, you had your surgery, so therefore you're done transitioning. It's not like, you know, I'm playing Mario Kart or something like that, and I get to the final boss.
No.
Oh, I bit down the final boss, and now I'm done transitioning.
Exactly.
You know when you're done transitioning? It's the day you lie, even if you're not a trans person, because transitioning means that you're always changing, you're always
Yes.
evolving. And if you're not always changing and evolving, it means you're not learning, it means you're not
Growing.
progressing. So therefore, you're always in transition,
Yeah.
whether you're not or whether you are.
Yeah.
And that's
Simple
what I
as
was
that.
saying, like for the trans transition, that's exactly it. For me, I don't think that there really is one outside of just being in transition as a human being. Like the
Yes.
more you're aging and growing, you're in transition of figuring out who you are, and that will change depending on your environment.
Yeah.
So just because I'm trans doesn't mean I get this special card in which I have I've been shoved into this expressway of having my transition be very televised socially, and then also that there is a goal to get to. Like I said, you could just present if you want to. That is not the default. That is not the goal. And since society thinks that there is a normal, that it's put a lot of pressure on people to try and fit in that. And I think more people, especially non-binary people, and I did a lot of learning myself whenever I met all of you, and I'm so glad because it just helped me just go, all of these walls, get rid of them. What if I could just not care about any of that anymore? It's like seeing people live that way gave me the permission to stop thinking in terms of the binary, even if that is part of my identity. And it's freed me from so many shackles of pitfalling into tearing myself apart for being this or that, or policing other people. How many times have you been policed by other trans people because you're not doing something that they thought that you should be doing? I don't cis present, so I'm less than
And it's like
the trans, the usual trans man.
It's like, oh,
I ain't going forever, but like, I'm sure we all can.
But that's
coming up.
so true. It's the way it is, though, is that, you know, when I started my transition, I was called hyper feminine because my makeup was always done, my hair was always done, how I always had heels on, I did everything else like that. And then I just said to myself, why are you breaking your feet? Why are you putting all this makeup on? You don't need to do that. So there's days where I don't have to wear my makeup, and there's days, and I know my privilege of being a cis-looking and also a very light-skinned black girl, that I kind of have a way within society, you know? But the thing is that only goes so far because, you know, when you growing up in a small town like I did, I might not be, you know, dark, but looking like Lupita Nyong'o, but to those faces,
You blacking up.
you are Lupita Nyong'o.
I know, right?
I'll say that right now. So that kind of leads into our next thing is that, you know, it's a double-edged sword, social media. What are some bad and some good connotations?
see, like, that's what I was gonna say. Now, like feeding off what you said earlier, now with social media, the youth have all this access, you know, to so much material now because, you know, we're using our voices, we're speaking up, and there's a lot more material than there may have been back in the day. But with that, there's so much oppression.
Yeah.
Because now the ignorants are like, I can hide behind this here computer, say my opinion, press send, call it a day, and that's that. Ruin somebody's entire life to the point where they might take their life because they're not what I want in my society.
That whole thing of where they say, you know, I was bullied when I was in school. Yeah, there's a difference now. When I was in school, you know, somebody had to take a picture of you, bring it to Walmart, get it developed, and then bring it back to school and pass it around. Now I can take a picture of the four of you, and some kid in Guatemala can be making fun of you.
Exactly.
Like that.
Literally.
It's on a different level, and it's on a global scale now.
It's beautiful that we have access to all of this knowledge now. Like I said, you can just go on Google and be like, do. I mean, maybe I want to learn more about this or learn more about this. But with that, there's going to be so much negativity that you have to be careful. You know, it's like some people can just turn off their phone and like just live and go on about their day, but some people we can't.
No.
We walk out, and as soon as we walk out, we're a target. We got that right on our back. You look the way you look, well, that's not okay. And that's a problem. People got their phones out so quick to be taking videos and making fun of you or whatever, what have you, and sharing it, like you said, and it's going to be all around the world and viral.
Bring it on.
And it just going
And
Free PR for me.
Free
PR.
That's it.
Do it. Say it.
Once upon a
Take the
time,
hits.
I would have really been bothered by that, and I was, and I won't go on Twitter still for today, forever. But you know, on the other hand, you're right. Like we just got to live our lives and go out and do our thing. And if they don't like it, let them sing because we're too busy living our own lives.
And that's
But it does weigh on you, right? And like,
Sure.
I think a lot of us do have a lot of feelings like we want to protect the youth from a lot of things. We can't protect them from everything. You look at lots of people who comment on posts from Halifax and they're not from Halifax. You could do it from anywhere in the world, you know, bully somebody. So, you know, it is a double-edged sword. It's awesome to have the representation, but it's hard to drown out those voices sometimes that are just full of hate.
Fair. I mean, you can go if you want to.
I was just going to say, it's also on the flip side is now that we have all of this representation, it's also important to remember, especially with the younger generation, to not idealize your transition through someone else that you see online.
Yes.
Because it's so quick to see someone online and see the curated version of that person. Because all social media is a curation and it's all fake.
Yes. Yep.
So it's important to remember that even to your trans icons, to look at them and say, they still have off days. They still have days where they don't feel like they are their gender identity, and it's important to remember that and realize that.
Right?
I was going to say that. I was going to be like,
you can. It's great to have these people who are coming up and being very visible online and being spreading their voice, but it's also important to not idolize these people in relation to your own transition. And to really kind of like contextualize and be like, contextualize yourself with their kind of like transition.
it is a double-edged sword too, because like you do have hurt people online putting their hurt out on other people, and then you have other people who are constantly very aware of their own being very human, and they're juxtaposing that against people who seem to have it all together instead of realizing that's a fallacy, and it's put on social media so you can get as less backlash as possible. So when you get on social media, maybe you do your hair and all this other stuff and whatnot. And I'm now a watcher on TikTok, on the TikToks, and there's a bunch of trans men there, and they're all like gorgeous and cis looking and all this other stuff, and I'm just like, I'll feel like that heavy feeling of just like, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Before I just turn my phone away and go, no, I am not seeing their real life at all. I am not seeing their days. I'm not seeing them in their most vulnerable, and they're not seeing mine. So like what you were saying, I don't have to pit myself in comparison to someone like that. But social media is good and bad for that, because you can have people who are keyboard warriors, who are not hurt people, who go towards these hurt people, who will spout these sort of things and go, you know that's not real, right? You know you don't have to say that to someone, right? You know you don't have, like I said earlier, there are so many groups, and I've left some of them because I have this urge to just fight everybody. I'm not an Aries, but I have an Aries personality, because I live with one. So like I will have this urge to like go at some of the people who have not yet broken themselves out of like societal laws, and will try and compartmentalize other trans people and police them and whatnot. But I'll just be like, literally, as a binary, queer, trans man, I couldn't have a bigger target on me. Like, I'm not light skinned, I'm not cis presenting. I don't want to be. I don't think there is a point to that anymore. And so just to let you know, you live in a world where the youth can see you and go, oh, well, there's that one person who doesn't actually have to do that. Like, no, don't put your transition against me, but use me as a way to go, if I can do it, you can do it. If I don't have to get top surgery if I don't want to, neither do you. If I want to wear a full face of makeup, which I am, and which I will, you can too, and still be a binary person or not. And social media, being the monster and the entity that it is, it's still tackleable because you're a member of society. So you can hit that back. You can change the narrative. And the more people that change the narrative, the less that narrative is going to make sense to so many people. So society changes. It's actually quite bigger than even we think it is. That's not our job, but just existing with that knowledge and putting that out there as usual as we do, you could do that. You could shine a whole light on the way that people really are, as opposed to what we thought that it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And that to me is important, it's powerful, and I'm here for it, because I'm not going to be silenced.
No.
Well, I have this term that I call trans elitist, and the people that, you know, they're the gatekeepers
of trans.
community. You have to look like this way, and you have to act like this way, and you have to talk like this way.
Show me where
and
that's
then when
written.
you bring up the word privilege to them, you're like, well, you know, you're doing that because you look this way, and they get offended.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of leads into this question here is, the word privilege is thrown around these days, you know, like the word icon. I swear to God, if I hear one more thing on RuPaul say, you know, they do a death drop and it's called iconic, I'm going to slap someone. I'm not going to slap anybody, I promise.
Slap them all.
I'm too old
Slap,
now.
that's
I might break something, osteoporosis.
like it.
All right.
But
Some of us might like it.
privilege is a word that is definitely thrown around these days. What are the what are the ways that it's actually very oppressive to our community? Is, you know, is privileged people? Because we all carry our
I
privileges.
have some privileges, but not a lot of them. So to me, it's weaponizable. And I know that sounds dangerous and confronting and whatnot, and it should be. Because now you could call people out on their privileges because they, knowing them, will put them to the back burner and spout their royal opinion. And whenever you can weaponize going, you should check your privilege about that, then you just shocked them outside of their royal opinion and went, oh yeah, other people exist.
Yeah, there's other
so
people
now
in the
I
world.
have to think about them because that person literally told me to. And as somebody who doesn't have, I have, you know, some privileges. I'm not very able-bodied. I'm not very cis-looking. I'm not light skin. I am right now because I haven't been outside, but I'm not. And as somebody who is also like not rich and not Christian, not white, not cis, et cetera, he just tick it on back. Privileges just fall right off of me. As somebody who isn't that, but I have the privilege to have the state of mind in order to navigate these things as not shortcomings but empowerments, then for privilege being something that I could use to tell people that their BS won't stand anymore is a powerful thing. And I do use that a lot, but I do recognize my own. That's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Turn it on yourself. Turn the mirror on yourself as well and acknowledge that. Sure, I have the privilege to say so because I also do not care what violence comes to me. You can try me if you'd like. I'll tell you where I'm at. Like, if me walking around, I'm not from a small town. I'm from a fairly big town. And so there was more diversity there. Not a lot. I maybe was a part of 15 black people in my high school, and I was the goth one. Black people didn't like me neither. I loved them, but I was weird. I get it. It was the 90s. Anyway, so like for having that kind of privilege and just like already having this thing where the slings and arrows will come. It doesn't matter if I go outside with my binder on, with it off. It doesn't matter what I wear because I already have an alternative style that society has deemed dangerous and all that other stuff. And I also have this thing, this large sign on me that just will not come off or anything like that, that will also deem me as being dangerous or angry or aggressive or less than or animalistic or that and that and that. So to have that be something that I cannot set aside, I've learned to empower myself with the, I would say the vernacular that I could push back and oppose people who do that checklist like you were talking about, people who do gatekeep, people who are the trans elite, because your voice will not overshadow mine just because you're doing this, that, or the other thing. I'm just as here as you. I'm just as valid as you. And I'm witty. I know that.
Yes.
So, I mean, literally, you could come at me with whatever.
Yeah.
The social media thing, come at me with that whatever. Bully me, cancel me, blacklist me if you want to. If you haven't done anything that I haven't kicked myself for, then a surprise on you. You made it. You made it through the armor.
So Jay, I know this is going to be kind of an awkward question, but speaking of privilege, going from like, you know, transitioning into like what is considered the height of what a privileged
I could speak for
person is,
hours
you know?
on privilege.
Exactly.
For me, the word privilege is actually an education piece to gauge how the other person will behave. So if someone gets offended at the word privilege, then I know they haven't done their homework. So if you get like upset at the word privilege, I just say, okay, so what I'm seeing is you're uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is the stage you need to be in order to learn and change. So good, just sit in that feeling for a little while. I'm going to let you sit in that feeling and be uncomfortable because I've been there too. I've been called out and called in, and it's important to be both of those things sometimes because I think it puts you through the fire and helps you learn. Yes, when I presented as female for 26 years of my life, and then I came out and I realized who I was, and I started presenting as male. And then I found it was helpful for my mental health to start changing my appearance and look like this. And that came with a whole lot of privilege. I already have a whole lot of privilege thanks to this ghost-like skin of mine. So I think what I did is I already had a loud voice when I was female presenting, and I always, you know, spoke my mind. But people started to listen to me more. As I grew facial hair, I didn't get interrupted as much. I suddenly became funnier, even though I said the same tired jokes. You know, so I think it was just, I noticed the privilege that I was getting, and I started to use it more against cis men.
What's that like?
See that? That's what I was thinking. I wanted to say is like, I feel like with people, the term privilege, and they get so damn offended by it. But if you have that privilege, you can take that privilege.
It's powerful.
When you recognize that and help those who don't have it. You can use that to benefit so many other people who don't. Like, I will recognize my privileges that I have, and I will help those who don't have that.
I can't tell you how many times someone
It's not offensive.
Yes.
You're fucking
not a dirty
lucky.
word.
Excuse my French, but damn, it pisses me off.
Well, so often I would try to get a word in edgewise in conversations, and then when I gained this male privilege, I found it much more easy to stop a man from talking, being like, actually, what was she saying? Because you talked over her, and I just wanted to hear her finish.
Yeah, because
And they would listen to me.
I don't have that
do
yet.
it, then I'm an angry black woman.
Right. We don't have that.
It doesn't matter what I do, I'm always going to be the angry black woman.
Right.
Yeah.
And and that's what they like to weaponize it against us.
Of
It's
course.
Like, oh, you're privileged, and they're like, I grew up in whatever. Privilege doesn't mean you're grow up. It's if you go into the world, you can as a cis white man, you could go into any part of this world and not have any problem.
Yeah,
Not contested.
But for me,
Yeah.
I am on the stage. We're literally illegal in like 19 countries. You know what I mean? So it's a different stage, and I always say it's one thing to have a platform, but it's another thing to use that platform.
Period.
You can have this stage and all that thing, but if you're just standing there as a pretty picture porcelain
It's all
doll
about you.
that nobody can touch, well, guess what? You're not doing anything except for helping yourself.
Exactly.
So doing what we're doing today is kind of, the thing, and making sure that we're taking whatever privilege that we might have, except for Craven, except for poor Ethan. Ethan, he's like, not even in my lexicon of dictionary.
Can I get some privilege, please?
Well, but
You can
the only
stop
thing
people
that I will
talking.
say, though, is that it's privilege
give some
kind of
to
for us to sit here, because there's many places in the world where we would be killed on spot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So even being able to sit here and do what we're doing right now is considered, somewhat of a privileged thing. So
And I would acknowledge that as being a privilege, and I'm going to use that so that I can educate folks and let
use it and move it.
But that's it. Like, I feel grateful for being here, grateful for this opportunity, and I'm going to say how I feel. I'm going to speak my piece. I'm going to take this platform, and I'm going to use it.
Someone should.
And that's
Exactly.
it.
I'm going to
It's
say what I feel. Trans people have so much appeal.
Exactly. From my perspective, being like a white person and an AMAP person who in my everyday life very much visually looks like an AMAP person, it's my responsibility to help uplift voices that don't have as much. So it's just like, it's my job to create space where people can come up and speak and actually like talk about what things are affecting them. So it's like,
Yeah, you also challenge it too, because like people are going to be like, cis white man, and you're like,
so it's
actually no.
for me, it's like I'm on the outside kind of looking in, and it's like I use that privilege to be able to be safe in certain situations, which is a really big privilege when you think about transness. It's that I can easily like take off my non-binary hat and put on cis dude bro, and
Same.
rarely ever works, but it helps in certain situations. And that's
But we see you, baby.
and that's a massive privilege, especially within this community, and it's something that I'm very hyper aware about, and especially because I'm a drag performer, I'm a non-binary drag performer. Even within the drag community, I've tried to use the fact that when in drag I appear as maybe like a cis queen, I even try to use that to be like, well, okay, I'm still gonna go in and try to be vocal about people like our fabulous king community that we have, and try to create a space where they can also be at the table. So it's like for me to like wiggle in, to be like, okay, I'm gonna wiggle in just so I can try to like expand a little bit to bring more people in with me. And I think people who have the privilege in our community kind of need to approach it that way, that you can wiggle in, but you need to make more space so that
And
more
we
people can.
have like the pageants going from Mr. and Miss being binary to being shoved into mixed to be more inclusive. Like if it weren't for non-binary drag performers going in and being like, well, we're here, we'd like to compete, I'd like a crown, 4-4.
And also, it's allowed me a little bit as myself too, because when I started drag, you had to have your nails had to be done. You had to wear heels, you have to wear pantyhose, you have to wear 4 pair of pantyhose, you have to be tucked, you have to be all this. And you know what? That hurts.
Yeah.
Also, it's expensive.
You saying you're not fabulous without it, or right?
Like, I don't want to put all that into people, and I'm not going to say, you're drag, you're valid, you do what you want, but you're not going to sit there and tell me what I have to look and how I have to present, because I got here with my stuff, so I'm going to keep continuing with my stuff. And the thing is, within, the whole privilege thing is that people want to come to me and tell me things because they don't know. So I use the term incognito kind of, because I'm a light-skinned person, and also because I'm cis-looking, presenting female, so I'll have these like men hitting on me, or and I can't, and I can tell people and stuff like that, and then I'm like, oh well, actually, have you ever met a trans person? Like, no, and I'm like, well, you have now, and then security is going to come and revoke you and get you kicked out.
Security.
So you can use it, and you can use what you need to do, but the thing is you can't use it to tell somebody else how to live life. Even if they don't, even if they're the most you know, backwoods, not talking, right wing, whatever, you can't tell them. They're not going to listen to you.
Right.
But what you can do is say, you ain't going to tell me what I can do.
That's it.
So
Exactly.
We can
You're
create
not
it
gonna
in
be
spaces
raised-
where we don't allow that to happen.
Yes.
yeah, and this term of safe space comes around all the time. And, you know, it doesn't just mean, you know, physically safety. You need to be mentally safe.
Mentally
Yeah.
safe.
Because if you're not mentally
Absolutely.
safe, you won't feel physically safe, and you won't want to be in that position.
Exactly.
I
There's
couldn't
a
agree
phrase
more.
that I follow and I keep close to my heart. It's to be visibly queer is to choose like confidence over safety,
Literally.
Yeah.
and to choose being yourself over safety.
Yep.
And it's something that I, within the queer community, especially at Pride, is something that I very much think about.
Yeah.
Like, I use my words, but I tell you right now, it takes a lot, but once I reach that phase, I will choose violence if I need to.
Truly.
You know what I mean?
If you want to catch
And
the
that doesn't
hand.
mean I'm going to get physically violent with you.
Afraid.
Mama can open her mouth and tell you all right things. And the thing is 3 days from now, you'll then decide, wait a minute, she wasn't complimenting me. You know?
Didn't know you was burned.
And that's
It's
where
called
it
a
comes from.
long-term read, yes.
So, how do you think that people can better support the trans community as a whole?
Listening.
Yes.
Listening. When we have the spoons to talk, and like right now, you know, take the time, because you got the time, if you got the time, to listen to us, and then check yourself. If you had any of these like thoughts or ideas of what your concept of what being trans was, or whatever, if you thought it was a box, it's not a box. We're not boxed in. It's more than just labels. You know, educate yourself. And when someone corrects you, instead of arguing, educate yourself. You know, realize that it's not. We're not just going to be mad at you to be mad at you.
Yeah, if you're doing this,
know,
you're not doing this.
Because it's not like we're perfect. I still got stuff to learn.
Yeah.
I still got to learn every single day. I'm still changing every single day. I'm learning new things about myself and about other people in my community.
That is perfection.
And you
To
know,
grow, to evolve.
So
Transition.
that's it. Everyone's transitioning in their own ways.
Yeah.
Period. So listen to those who are different from you. Take that and then go with that, and stop hindering yourself from
Yes.
being able, open your mind to being able to learn and be open to others and their lives around you, and not just in your damn bubble.
Well, I don't think people understand is that when they put barriers on other people, you're automatically putting that barrier on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I often ask cis people who ask me questions and advice, I ask them first, how do you identify? Why do you identify that way?
Yeah.
What made you identify? Did you just say, okay, doc, I believe you, that's fine?
Exactly.
Or did you make the decision for yourself? Did you actually think about your gender? Because what trans means to me, in addition to beauty, is you've thought about your gender. You've reflected on yourself. You know, I would never really assert to say that trans people are better than everybody else, but
say it.
I just say that we've thought about our gender, we've thought about ourselves, we've thought about the inside, and we've thought about our outsides. Don't worry about
more
that.
than we should
but
have.
we've more than we should,
more than we
more than we should.
Or
But
too much.
we think about our insides too, and we care about our family, and we care more about the person than the shell. We care about, we are empathetic people who turn it inwards and think about ourselves. And just everyone should do that more. You might be a part of our family. Maybe you don't know that.
Exactly.
Like, I always make a point to ask anybody I hang around with, cis, whatever, what are your pronouns?
Yes.
Simple as that, because then that gets them thinking.
It does.
Oh, because
What
I
are?
literally hung around with cis people that maybe I've never before, and I'm like, oh, well, hi, my name's Rain. I use he, him, or they, them pronouns. What are your pronouns? And they're like, girl. And I'm like, no. Pronouns like she, her, they,
What
them.
does that mean?
Z's, like there's so many. And it's like, oh.
Well, when I'm doing my teachings, you know, when I work with the companies, and now when I'm working with the youth, is that the pronoun, when people are like, well, I don't want to ask pronouns. it's going to offend somebody. I'm going to tell you right now, if you go and ask somebody who you think is within the community what pronoun is, they are not going to be offended. They're going to be offended if you don't ask.
Yes.
Ask.
I'd be offended
And that
if you
is
assume.
everything that to do with you and yourself, then you're projecting it onto other people.
Yeah.
So ask those pronouns.
Yes.
You know what? And then they're like, well, what if I don't, do you know their name? Say their name.
Exactly.
Some people might not use pronouns at all, and it's just like,
Yeah.
you
Or
know.
offer it first. Hi, my name is Jay. I use he, him pronouns. How are you today?
Yeah, and it's like people are like, oh, nope, it slipped my mind, never mind. I was gonna say something, forgot it.
That was my
Well,
fault.
we'll let it come back to you.
You can also use your art. Some of us use our art to,
I think all of us use our
Yeah.
art.
yeah,
One way or
use
another.
our
You know,
art in
comics,
order to
drag,
help with the-
fashion,
yeah.
you know.
because I'm a binary trans king, and a lot of people used to have a problem with people like that for whatever various reasons. But that's what I mean. My thing, if to just improve things, to go back to the question, would be really start with what you think you know. What you think you know is not written in stone anywhere. So if you, like in general, everyone, just if you start out with a blank slate, then you can you have enough room to learn the new variables that are coming in without having to try and put them in between what you think you know. So with trans, with non-binary, and all of the rest of the umbrella, you thought you knew words that you can use to address people. There are things called neopronouns.
Yes.
You can literally make up a word yourself. All words are made up. All names are made up. So if you just go into things thinking that way, then you won't have to break down all of these things that you thought were finite in existing and identifying yourself or other people. You will already be open to learning the new. And that's the most important, because we're all individuals, and that means we're a universe unto ourselves.
Yes.
Learn the rules of each universe. They could be different, they can be similar, but if you attribute them towards not being boxed in, not having rule sets for them, you'll understand that there isn't a normal.
Right.
You'll understand that there isn't a one way, there is a billion ways. You'll understand that the spectrum of trans, whether you're non-binary, you definitely belong here. You know what I'm saying? If you're agender, you definitely belong here. If you use pronouns or you don't, you definitely belong here. If you change your name all the time, you definitely belong here.
I like having options.
There is a place for you, and if people just realize that there aren't any rules,
Yes.
then we can tailor fit our society to be safe, to be inclusive, to be interesting. Like, it's fascinating. Get
Yes.
into it.
Yeah.
I was just
Get
gonna
into
say,
people.
Well, I used to work for a makeup company, and the company, when people would come in and go, "Where's your men's makeup?" or "Where's your men's skincare?" I'm like, "Well, we have masculine scented stuff, but we don't really have." It's
And what does that even mean?
Like,
Did you put makeup on?
That's
well,
like-
then they go, it's makeup for you.
gendered clothing.
Like, bergamot is still a flower, so
Exactly.
it's still
Yeah.
masculine, but what does that even mean?
Yeah. It's
What do you want?
Sandalwood.
Yeah.
I don't care
It's
about all
good.
these rules. What do you want? You
Yeah.
want makeup or not?
You want man?
You want to
makeup?
smell like
Welcome
something
to
or
my
not?
bed.
Do you want that to be the woods, a person, or what? What are we
Because
looking
I'm
for?
telling you right now, all these, they're like, "Whoa, Clint Eastwood doesn't wear." You don't think Clint Eastwood?
He wears
does
a
not
ton.
look like that. I can tell you right now, that man has crack filler. That man
Yeah.
has more
I'd have been like,
foundation on than most
exactly.
drag queens.
He's an actor.
So,
There's a
like,
department
no.
There's
of
literally-
makeup
Yeah.
for him. A department, a
He'll
group,
get the one that smells like guns, but it's you know.
which I like. I like that.
Too much. But no, this connotation that you have to transgender the right way, or when people are like,
Really?
oh, transgenders.
The right
I'm like,
way.
why are you saying transgenders? There's no S.
It was really alienating for you to
it's-
say.
yeah,
It's really
you
othering
have to add S
for of
onto
you.
it, and like I said, you don't say, oh, I'm a she girl, like
Right.
you're a she, or
And whatever
you
that
do your
means,
thing,
right. There are no
Well,
rules.
this discussion has literally opened my mind, and again, I know I'm bringing it up, but I'm an older, person. So when I started this, my transition, 15 years ago, I didn't have this. I didn't have and I keep people coming up to me saying, oh, you're a mentor.
Is that because it
and
was a
you're-"
small town?
A
Because
small
I did.
town.
You're 2 years older than me, so we
Yeah,
we got both
exactly.
old hats. So yeah, 15
And
years ago.
it's this thing of it's just because I'm more out and open, I think,
Fair.
more in the public. But the thing is that when I was a kid, you know, we had to go to the library and look up Dewey Decimal System, you know?
Yes.
And then try to find the word transgender. You had to hear it first. And then you had to make sure that that librarian, that nosy-ass librarian wasn't going to go, how your mom is looking up dirty words, you know? So
And that wasn't in the library in the Midwest.
you know, like I did not hear non-binary until I was like well into my 20s, you know?
28 years old.
Exactly. And then once I heard that, it kind of clicked for me. And how I explain to people, it's kind of like the cereal aisle. This is how I talk to the cis people. When I was a kid, there was 5 cereals. There was Kellogg's, there was that Frosted Flakes, there was those damn nasty-ass Rice Puffs that they had to put a whole cup of sugar on. Rice Krispies.
The blandest of us all.
That was it. That's all you could pick from. So you're like, that must be it is. But now you go to a grocery store and there's a whole aisle. That's the way the world is. You know, when you're waking up and you're like, my husband's like, oh, that's a new pronoun. It's like, it's a new one to me, but let's learn about it, you know?
That's
It's because now there's a whole aisle of going, well, I identify with those nasty-ass puffs, but I also identify with the Kellogg's.
I like to pick cereals.
You know what? Those Fruit Loops, child, looking good to me. You know what I mean? So that's
Put
the
some
way
Cocoa
the world
Puffs
has
on a Fruit
kind
Loop
of
and that's
done
me.
with, you know, with, again, with going back to the social media and everything else like that. It's made the world very small. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to get you to tell me something that you would change within the community and something that you love from our community. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. I'll start with mine. One thing that I would change in the community is the gatekeeping of people telling people how you can live, where you can live, and how you can do it. I look like this because I choose to look like this. If I want to put my makeup on, I can. If a man thinks that I'm trying to attract you, thinks that I have gold eyelids when I wake up in the morning, that is on him, not on me.
Right.
So we need to stop that. But what I love about the trans community and as a whole is creativity, because we come from a place where we're not fostered, where we're told, you know what, you're never going to amount to. So we fight harder. So we have to make sure that we do everything. So we take all of that balled up rage and we put it into creativity. So that's why we're actors. That's why we're storytellers. That's why we're performers. That's why we, you know, own comic books and, you know, make fashion and, you know, flip gender on its side. And then, you know, like literally, for God's sakes, you're a gothic vampire, trans male drag queen. Drag king, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's all, and you love pumpkin spice latte, but we ain't gonna get into that.
I wish you would leave me alone about that. Till I die.
Who wants to go first then?
I would say the one thing I love about our trans community is our resilience. Is that no matter, we get knocked down 10 times, get up 11. You know what I mean? And I feel like we do have a sense of like a community and we have a sense of family that no matter what, if anything goes wrong, if something happens to one of us, you got
we got each
bunch
other.
of people coming up right in behind, right there, ready to go.
Molly Watt.
Ready.
Truly. A force to be reckoned
Ready
with.
to go. And that's what I love. I think one thing for me, like with my experience in the trans community that was kind of like hindered me is always feeling like I still have to present a certain way. Feeling like, I feel like I'm not man enough. And with that was like something that when I started drag, which has kind of pushed my gender journey, is when I first started, I very wanted to be that light-skinned pretty boy. I had to be that. And I had to be aggressive, and I had to be this, and I had to be that. But I realized, no. Overflow with a little bit.
And who gonna stop you, boo?
Who gonna stop me?
And I tell you, once I saw that light bulb click on you one day while you were performing, and it was so great and magical because it allowed you to go, oh, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
I have not every crayon. I also have coloring pencils and markers and everything else to color with.
I feel like we navigated the biz together too.
I feel fully, and like I know so many
started,
other folks who identify as trans men who are very femme presenting as well, and that's like okay, like I need
whatever
to stop.
that means, yeah.
Like so maybe it's not a matter of the community; it's a matter of me seeing the community and the people in the community.
If a gay man can wear eyeshadow, why can't you?
I mean,
I am a gay man.
I
Right.
went hyper masculine.
Yeah, that's
I was a
what I
skinny
thought it
little white
was.
boy. boy, I had to wear baggier clothes. I had to act this way.
Yeah, like I was like, I need to wear my binder all the time. I need to duct tape my chest back. I need to have facial hair. I need to speak deeper.
Right.
It's fine because it's kind of good. But now I'm like, it hurts. It hurts. It's physically.
There's no need to keep hurting yourself.
Hurting myself to fit in.
Right.
Nobody needs to do that. If that's what you want to do, do it.
Yes.
But don't tell people that they have to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not okay for them. If it's not them.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like some people in the community are still kind of
I was going to say
in
that.
those mannerisms of,
I'm still going to say that.
no, gonna be.
I had to check myself. You know, I'm an older one.
Yeah,
So when I started, I was like, you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way. No.
Yep. The thing that I would like about the community that I don't like is that I would love for certain words to die. Passing should die.
Yeah.
I want that to die. I want it to really just be buried like it. And I hope we never look back like it never happened. We just seriously put that in a box,
passing
toss that
privilege.
into space, and then just pretend like that was never a thing. That was like a thing that the person that you are when you're surviving is not the person that you would be if you were supported and not hindered in any way. So you don't have to actually sit on those haunches and think that that is your personality because you actually don't quite know. So for people, I would like for us to throw away those words and those connotations and those compartments so that we stop hurting ourselves, stop gatekeeping, start listening and what everybody was saying. But I also want people to do that and internalize that that is a fallacy. And then go ahead and break every rule that you thought you knew.
Yes.
I would love for everybody in the cis and trans community to just keep doing that. I'm going to. Join me. Seriously. Because like when people, when they see you doing that and they see how fabulous and creative, as Chris was saying, that you could be, it opens the door for more people to find their place on the spectrum of gender identity, on existing, on presenting, and stuff like that. And I want that. Speaking of what I love from the community is that started to.
Yeah.
We've started to. We realize how timeless being trans, two-spirit, or questioning that status quo has been. At one point, there was no HRT. There was no surgeries for you to do, and yet you'll see in African communities, non-Western communities, religions and civilizations that we've always been here with our body parts the way they were, without makeup, without binding, without contour, okay, without all of that. And people still respected the identity. It was not until we had this hard shift towards like religion and all this other sort of things that started to box us. So let's get back to the tradition of being a person, which is however the heck you are.
Yes.
And I love that we're starting to do that with non-binary people coming out being loud and proud, with cis people having more people like being allies and knowing more non-binary people and learning, and like Gen Z, y'all are gonna be okay, I think, you know? So like for that, I love that you taught this old dog some new tricks. I am 34 years old and I had no idea what binary was till I came to Halifax. And then the other people were just like, oh, this is the thing. And I was like, oh, so you mean that whenever I even speak, even though I'm a binary person, I don't have to let that be my entire personality? Yeah. You don't let it be yours? I'm not going to either. So I keep my worldview non-binary even though I identify as binary. I don't let it stifle me or limit me or anything like that. So I love the community for gifting me with this like eye-opening, mind-opening, heart-opening opportunity to bring my language outward without putting those stifles and those stipulations on it, because they weren't real. It made me realize that they weren't real.
Yes.
And I love that. And I want to thank all of you for even, like, everybody even here has taught me something new.
So, Alex, we're getting close to time, but what's your favorite and what's your...
Favorite, I would say, is just the group of, like, community. The fact that I can be here with you fine folks and feel a community, despite us all coming from different places, that this all kind of brings us together, and it makes me feel like we have a found family within the community. The thing that I wish people would stop is having expectations about what it means to be trans, both within the trans community and outside of the trans community is just allow people to live how they want to live, regardless of how that it kind of like impacts you, and just let people live the life that they want to live and express themselves how they want to express themselves.
Literally.
And Jay?
I love this community so much. They have been my net. They caught me. I grew up very religious and in a box that I didn't think I was ever able to break out of. And then I learned I could, and this is my home. I went out and I partied, and these people know me, you know what I mean? Like, these people caught me. And some people who are not here still today, but they caught me, this community. And the thing that makes me sad sometimes is that I see within the trans community, we're emulating the things that we don't like about society as a whole. And I wish that we could just, you know, see through that sometimes and be like, why are we doing the same thing that we don't want to experience? You know, so
We need to perpetuate that
so
system.
but we've come so far, and I'm still here because y'all caught me, and you know.
And we will continue to do so.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to Ethan. I want to say thank you to Alex, to Rain, and to Jay. Thank you very much for joining our panel, and I hope that you're having a wonderful Pride's festivities. My name is Chris Cochrane, and I just want to leave you with this: your mind, your body, your journey. Thank you.